What's going on, EoP sports fans? It's Wednesday night. It's 8:30. It's time for EoP. I'm Big Al.
I'm Joe Sheeran.
I'm Freddie Burns.
We got a ton to cover tonight, guys, and welcome in. And I want to thank everybody for joining us. And we're going to be covering 4 for 4 and so much more as we always do here at EoP. Plenty of Eagles news going on, and we're going to just dive right into it. Guys, some more moves have been made since we last were on air. We'll start with the bigger one, kind of biggish one. I don't know. It depends how you feel about a backup quarterback. We know how Philadelphia feels about the backup quarterback, but Kenny Pickett is now seemingly number 2 for the Eagles QB2. Joe, number 1.
You think that's the bigger move than the LB position?
The more talked about, more complained. I guess I don't know. I guess they're both complained about. I guess.
I guess you can make an argument for it because after the trade, it was all talked about, the whole Justin Fields, everything. But we can get into that. Kenny Pickett, do I like it? I actually like it a lot. As you guys know, I've been a Kenny Pickett fan. He's from right over the bridge. He grew up an Eagles fan. All the pictures came out in McNabb gear and stuff from when he was a kid. And I really liked them coming out of the draft. In fact, I thought to myself, and I know I'm on the record saying it, that if they were not positive with Jalen Hurts and thinking he was the guy, the possible franchise quarterback, I wanted them to draft Kenny Pickett. And we all know that Howie Roseman went to the bowl game to check him out. So there was a chance that they actually were interested in him to begin with. I think that he has had mediocre to maybe a little bit above average success in Pittsburgh. I don't know what the hell happened there. I don't know if he was like a real headache in the locker room. I don't know if he was causing a lot of problems with the whole Russell Wilson coming there, but he wanted to change the scenery, and it all worked out, in my opinion, for everybody. When it comes to the contract, they have 2 more years controlled on him at about $3.5 million. And really, when you go out and you look at what the Eagles have done in the past with backup quarterbacks, is they've gone out and they've spent $5, $6, $7, $8 million on these backups. And you're getting this guy who I absolutely think can step in for a game or two and lead the Eagles to a victory. You're getting this guy who is young. He is, he's still able to develop his game, and you get him for on the cheap for multi-years. When it comes to Justin Fields, it would have been for only next year because the 5th-year option would have been $25 million. You knew that wasn't going to happen. In fact, I think he actually turned down a few of the trade possibilities for him. Who knows if the Eagles were one of them, but that's besides the point. Kenny Pickett, in my mind, he's in a great spot for not only himself, but for the Eagles. And I don't think that it's going to be one of those, if Jalen Hurts has a bad game, everybody's going to jump on the Pickett train. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see that happening with this move. I'm very happy with it.
Well, let me ask you a question, Joe, before I jump over to Fred here. Does that mean anything to you, the fact that if it was Justin Fields, that you'd be worried about that, or Jalen could be worried about that, or is it just something you don't want to just hear because it becomes an annoying scenario?
The one thing that this fan base loves is controversy. And more often than not, it's QB controversy. A lot of times the most popular player on your team is the backup quarterback for whatever reason with this fan base. So, I do think that it could have gotten into the head a little bit of Jalen Hurts if it was Justin Fields that they traded for. I think this was the safer route. We already know from Kenny Pickett's press conference that he's already reached out to Jalen Hurts and they've had a conversation. So you got to feel comfortable with it. I want to say comfortability is what I'm taking out of this. And I don't think Kenny Pickett is coming in here thinking that he's going to just outright beat Jalen Hurts out for the starting quarterback position. I think this guy was kind of humbled a bit. And I think he is just ready to, like he said, help the team in any area that he can.
Fred, your feelings on the Pickett pickup?
Of course he's going to say that, Joe. What is he going to say? I'm coming here to take the job of Jalen Hurts. He obviously had issues there. I don't like the trade unless I know it's only like 20-some picks. I feel like I would prefer to have the late 3rd round than the early 4th. I don't really care about the 7s. I don't love the trade. I Kenny Pickett, I did like him out of college, but the games I watched with Pittsburgh, games I bet on with Pittsburgh, the games he just was awful. Not awful, but like just there's some throws I was just thinking, oh my God, this guy is not a good quarterback. So the Eagles obviously liked him from the draft. Maybe they can get him in the room and develop him and be able to flip him for a second round pick, third round pick down the road. If that's the case, great. I do think this fan base will 100% start calling for Kenny Pickett's name if we see play like we did late last year from Hurts, bailing out of the pocket.
Not picking up the blitz.
Not picking up the blitz, that type of thing. I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that will happen, I think. And I'm just, why put the pressure on Hurts? Why not go get a veteran quarterback that Hurts can bounce ideas off? You got Tanner McKee. I know he's a late pick. He's not high end like Kenny Pickett was projected, but I would just much prefer to go get a veteran quarterback that has some experience. And, I know they tried to throw some money at Flacco, so they did attempt to do that. So maybe teams just don't. There's the vets that would come here if they had the chance to play. But I don't necessarily like it, but I don't think you can absolutely hate it either. You're kind of hedging your bet too, because if Kenny Pickett, let's say Hurts does fall off, and there are really realities to these rumblings about him being a leader and all that stuff, then Howie's like subtly hedging his bet here, and Hurts has been playing hurt as well. Now maybe you have a backup quarterback that can come in there and win you some games. So I guess you can't, I'm kind of hedging my opinion here, obviously, by the way I'm saying it. I don't like that. I feel like we lost as far as compensation goes, but you never know. You can't totally hate it.
Yeah, but in this regard, you only gave up 20 picks for a backup quarterback at a very, very good contract. What's left on his contract?
But he stinks.
Wow. 2 years in the league. 2 years. Hold on. In fact, he has a winning record. He's 14-10.
I know, but you know how those games were won. Come on. He does have some fourth quarter comebacks. I'll give him that. So he does have that in him. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, no talent around him either.
Kenny Pickett, Deontay Johnson. The offensive line seems to be good every year. I can't say that I know
George
how
Pickens.
good they are. George Pickens, yeah.
Pickett, but yeah. But, in my eyes, it doesn't move the needle much for me either. I would have thought with having a Tanner McKee on the roster, they would have probably went more with a veteran guy. Maybe they didn't want to spend the $7-8 million, $9 million that we've seen some of these veteran guys get paid. The one thing I could tell people is to shut up about the Justin Fields, like, oh, we missed out because of it was less compensation. There was plenty of teams that were offering more for Justin Fields, but I think Chicago. I don't think he wanted to come to Philly, and I think Chicago kind of did him right in a sense and said he thought he had a better chance of going to Pittsburgh and becoming a starter again behind a Russell Wilson who to me is cooked, and probably that's how a lot of people are seeing it. And instead of coming here playing against Jalen Hurts, who most likely is going to be the quarterback going forward outside of any complete collapse or career-ending injury or anything along those lines. So I think part of it was I don't think Justin Fields was ever going to come here. Even if we offered the same compensation, even a little bit more, he wasn't going to come here. So we can forget about it. And yes, there is comparisons to Justin Fields, but what did Justin Fields do? What did Justin Fields do that made him so head and shoulders better than Kenny Pickett in my eyes?
Good
so
point.
in my eyes, you got two mediocre quarterbacks to be your backup quarterback. A backup quarterback's like a snowblower. You hope to never use it. It's just there in a case of emergency. You know what I mean?
But we need to use it, and you do use a snowblower every year.
Well, not every year,
at some
but
point. Well, not lately, I guess.
At some point, yeah, you might. And fine. I think Kenny Pickett in 2 games, maybe 3, and Justin Fields to me is, maybe you have to adjust the play calling a lot more for Kenny than you would do for Justin because of the type of quarterback you're playing, because Justin Fields is more of a type of quarterback like Jalen Hurts than Kenny Pickett is. But we've seen them adjust this thing. So I'm not super worried about that. I just think, listen, they got Kenny Pickett. Again, it's not a big deal to me either way. I don't understand this love for Justin Fields that everybody had because he was supposed to be the next big thing. He was Jalen Hurts light for a while, but he's, now he's become wish.com version Jalen Hurts. And he hasn't done anything. And there's a guy, like, I'm not using the comparison exactly the same, but Deshaun Watson, like when they paid him as much as they paid him guaranteed to come to Cleveland, it was I thought that was a dumb move. Again, a guy who now he's a lot more talented, don't get me wrong, but somebody who hasn't done anything yet. And you pay him all that money. But this thing is, Justin Fields hasn't done anything yet. You could have two busts in Pittsburgh right now with Russell Wilson. You're rolling the dice on Russell Wilson. It's not a big dice roll. It's 1 year. They don't have to extend him into the end of the year. They might if he plays well. If he can have another resurgence, which I don't know, we'll find out, because it sounded like a lot more was in between Russ's ears than it was anything else. And Kenny was mad. Kenny wanted out. Kenny requested out.
They told him in the middle of the year to drop your injury clause. That would kind of mess you up between the ears anyway. They're like, we're going to bench you if you don't drop your clause to make millions. Like they're kind of scumbags over there in Denver, what they tried to pull. But Billy Covington checking in here. How good or bad is Justin Fields? Do you think Chicago developed him correctly? And I think that's the big question. Did Chicago develop him correctly? Which that's probably what you hold your hat on for all the people who love Justin Fields. Because does Chicago ever have a good quarterback? Do they ever develop a quarterback correctly? No. So maybe you go over to Pittsburgh and you're able to be behind Russell Wilson and learn. But I think he would have been better off behind the Eagles.
Can you say the same about Kenny in some ways? I mean, they change offensive coordinators in the beginning of the year, or in the middle of the year, I should say. I mean, I think there's a lot of comparisons both to their story, not the type of quarterback they are, but the story they are. Do I think Justin Fields is probably a better talented quarterback? I'd say yes.
Yes.
Do I think he's
athletically?
Athletically.
Hold up. Athletically, I think one of the things I love about Kenny Pickett is in that bowl game when he did that fake slide and then he ran for the touchdown. That was one of the most athletic plays I've ever seen in my life.
Athletic, yeah. Real athletic. That play pissed me off so mad. I was like, dude, these quarterbacks, they get everything, and then you're going to pull this fake slide crap. Oh, dude. But it was definitely smart. It was certainly
It was
smart.
Awesome.
I mean, why not go get a veteran like Carson Wentz? You know what I mean? He's out there.
Well, hold on, and I'm just gonna blow right past what you just said.
It was a joke. It was a joke.
I know the Justin Fields compensation, wasn't that only a 6th round pick?
Conditional 4th, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Well, either way, the Eagles' compensation for Kenny Pickett is better than what Chicago got from the Steelers. So Joe, you have to think.
That's 2 7-round picks we won't have next year.
Oh, who cares? They trade them away anyway. They're not drafting 7, 8, or 9 guys in the draft anyway. They don't do that. But if I truly do think Justin Fields turned down the Eagles, because why wouldn't Chicago take that compensation from the Eagles when they got lesser from the Steelers? But I do think the situation for Justin Fields is absolutely perfect for him in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he has a much higher ceiling to become a starting QB in Pittsburgh than he has here. And that's why I want to go here. I don't know who the other people were in on it, but I mean, I'm sure if New York was in there, I mean, the Giants, I should say, if there's some other teams that really had a lot of QB question marks who offered more money, Justin Fields would have been there. But Philadelphia definitely was not one of them.
Right.
Justin Fields is still young enough to be built from the ground up. So is Kenny Pickett. The only thing with Pittsburgh, I'll say, is their offensive coordinator got fired midseason last year. Who was it, Matt Canada? Like, they're a mess there too. So, but he does definitely have the potential to start there. No doubt about it. So, well, let's move on. Let's keep this Eagles.
Go ahead. Bring it on up.
Well, I don't know what you got next.
Oh, let's go to the one that you guys thought I kind of glossed over. And that one would be the Devin White trade, or Devin White pickup. Eagles finally touch on the linebacker. Again, not everybody's happy with the Devin White trade because Devin White, he's young but has had some down years as of lately. But he's a positive upside, and it didn't cost a lot. So I like the Devin White trade. He has a lot of upside if we can get the Devin White, with a new coordinator, new coordinators, I should say, on the defense, a whole new defensive mentality possibly under Vic Fangio. I think this could be kind of good for both sides. We get a good linebacker, and he might not be the only. It's not going to be the only linebacker out there, but I think he could be that good veteran presence. He's young. If he works out well, we could sign him on, and maybe for roughly a more reasonable compensation. But here is some of the stats that people are kind of poo-pooing on. Fred, what are your feelings on the Devin White signing?
Well, first I have to apologize because me and Joe talked about him a few weeks ago, and I was thinking of Dion White for some reason. My buddies broke my stones. He never played for the Falcons or anything like that, whatever Saints or whatever I said 2 weeks ago on the show. But I don't really like the deal. It's a little much too much money for me. I don't trust the Eagles looking into linebackers. I don't think they identify linebackers well. The fact that Todd Bowles and that defensive staff benched him in the final games last year tells me a lot that they think he's obviously cooked. So, we'll see what happens. The Eagles could adjust. And Vic Fangio, if this is a Vic Fangio pick, if I could know that, I would probably feel a lot better about it, because then if he identifies him as someone that fits his scheme, then I might feel a little better about it. I'm sure he had some input, but I mean, he was an all-pro a few years ago. I didn't like his press conference. He's throwing stones at Tampa Bay, blaming injuries, talking about, he's trying to get a contract. That's what this year's about. All the stuff he said kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I know he still said, like, he wants to win and all the stuff you're supposed to say, but little inklings of like, hey, he's here, but he's already out of here in a sense mentally. So, but they did address the position. It's better than going into it with a linebacker that, doesn't play or, is a safety they're converting or a project or any of that. So I can't totally hate it either. Joe?
I think the fact that he said that he's coming in playing for a contract is a positive thing. He was benched at the end of last season. He didn't like the way that everything ended in Tampa Bay. He didn't get the money he probably thought he was going to get. He only got a 1-year prove-it deal, and it was under his market value. Him saying that in his presser just tells me that he's ready to go out there and compete and be a dog on that field. And by the way, Todd Bowles is a chode. So him benching
Temple, boy.
I don't care. Him benching Devin White means absolutely nothing to me. For people saying that this kid is cooked, I want to put in capital letters kid, K-I-D. He's 26 years old. Sometimes these guys need a new scheme, a new outlook, a chapter 2, a new just a new outlook. Yeah. They need to be humbled a bit. Like I just said about Kenny Pickett, they need to be humbled. And I think that this is a great position for him to come in. The money to me means absolutely nothing. Them addressing him, a linebacker in free agency, speaks volumes to me. And, maybe it's because of this that when it comes to the draft, they're looking at some of these bigger name linebackers, possibly Edwin Cooper, who can go at number 22. Like, it looks to me like Howie is turning a new leaf. He is looking at the positions of need, not the ones that he typically goes out and puts a majority of his time into. Like, they just signed Saquon Barkley. Running back looked like it was nothing but a dime a dozen for the Eagles in prior seasons. Now they go out and they sign, but Devin White is like the 4th linebacker they've signed. So, I mean, I really do think that this is just a new outlook for the Eagles and Howie in the way he addresses these positions. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, like hair on fire. I'm so happy Devin White's here. But I've been calling for this guy to be signed here for weeks now. I mean, how can I say anything bad about it? I'm happy about it.
I thought of you right away. You immediately, and then Rob Lange, who's on our Mondays on Party on Broad, he loves it too. You guys definitely, you got to plant your flag in the sand and stand tall with it. Because if he does pan out, kudos to you guys. 2.5 sacks last year. I will say from the, I guess research you do, listening to like the Greg Cosell's of the world and them guys, like he'll make like a ton of splash plays. So there's going to be a bunch of plays where you're like, holy crap, like an amazing plays. But then he also makes a ton of dumb plays. So hopefully, to your point, Joe, he's younger. He's 26. He'll get rid of some more of those dumb plays and keep it more of the smart, flashy plays. So
hopefully the good outweighs the dumb. Yeah, that's the key thing here. But one good thing that never fails is phillysportstrips.com, guys. That's right. Go to phillysportstrips.com. Sign up for all the amazing trips they have. Of course, the big one, Birds take over Brazil, a whole week long in South America in Brazil. Check it out. It's a full vacation on top of a historical game that might have been leaked who they're playing down there. Possibly could be Cleveland. That's kind of the leaks that are out there right now, that the Cleveland Browns could be the people that we're going against, the Eagles are going to go against in Brazil, but we'll find out for sure in the coming months. But go to phillysportstrips.com, sign up for all of them. They got ones for Baltimore for you Phillies fans. Great day trip. Baltimore's an amazing city, an amazing Camden Yards. June 15th, check it out. You can head up to Boston for a few days, check it out. Chicago, and even Pittsburgh, and so many more trips at phillysportstrips.com. Check them out, phillysportstrips.com. Tell them EoP sent you. And also, guys, I can't forget, I want to welcome one of our newest sponsors to the Fightins Final. That's right, with Phillies right around the corner. The Fightins Final is right around the corner with it. And our newest sponsor for the Fightins Final is the Streetlight Kitchen and Bar at the Holiday Inn and Suites at the Drexel Brook Event Center at 5400 Fern Boulevard in Drexel Hill. And we also will be there live for some pre and post games. And the first one will be April 7th, starting at 11 a.m. That's right. We will be live from the Streetlight Kitchen and Bar at 5400 Fern Boulevard in Drexel Hill at the Holiday Inn and Suites at the Drexel Brook Event Center. Check it out. We will be there of course, stick out, hang out with us, eat with us, watch the game with us, talk along with us. And then, of course, we go live for the post game for your Fightins Final. Check it all out. The Fightins Final returns with the Phillies, and we return with the Streetlight Kitchen and Bar. So just really excited to be working with those guys. We'll be hearing a lot more about them in the coming days. Some more Eagles signings. Another linebacker. Guys, is the needle moving all for Oran Burks?
I just got to be totally honest about this one. I didn't even know who he was until they signed him.
No, special teamer.
I'm not going to try and BS my way through it.
Yeah.
No, I did remember him. He is a special teamer. I did know who he was, at least. I did look up some stuff on him. Do you know his first career sack was against Carson Wentz?
That does not surprise me one bit.
And then his first
I feel a lot of people are going to be able to say that.
Interception was against Dak Prescott. But
okay.
Yeah, he's 29 years old, and I think he could contribute on special teams. But I'd like to see how he pans out here, in the mix. How Vic Fangio likes versatile players that can do a bunch of things. So it's going to be very intriguing to see how he uses these linebacker signings, all of them.
Yeah, Joe, you mentioned earlier Saquon Barkley, and there was something quite funny that Saquon put out there, and it's been kind of a back and forth. I mean, obviously Saquon liked his time in New York, and I think I kind of put that Saquon hit the lottery of running backs this year, not just because of the money he's making, because he's being one of the highest paid running backs in free agency so far, but also he goes from a team that can't win. There's Sharon. Sharon works over at the Streetlight Bar. Yes, can't wait.
I met Sharon. Sharon's awesome.
Hi, Sharon.
Yeah, Sharon's great.
Sharon, I'm your insurance agent. Same guy. What's up, Sharon? She's probably gonna be asking for a requote tomorrow.
Yeah, she's gonna be asking to drop you.
We hooked her up.
Yeah, no. So Saquon, it go a little back and forth, and especially we saw with the Tiki Barber stuff. But Saquon said he told his daughter he's going to Philly, and she asked, "Does that mean we're going to win now?" I mean, he did hit he got an O-line to work behind a much better quarterback, and he's getting paid. Joe, I don't think he should stop smiling ever. What do you think?
No, I think this is a dream come true for him. I mean, I really do think like when he got drafted to New York, to the Giants, like I have to imagine that that's not where he pictured him starting his career. So I think he has to be ecstatic about this, especially because of just the moves and the decisions that dumpster fire up there in North Jersey has done over the past couple of years. I mean, he should have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, especially 2 games per season, because he deserved that money over Daniel Jones, and now it is biting that team in their rear end. I mean, yeah, you're right. Look at the grin on that man's face. He looked perfect in wearing the Eagles crest right there, and I cannot wait to see this guy behind our line. I can't wait.
I can't wait to see him in the Kelly green. I'm pretty pumped about that. I did think he looked pretty cool in the old Giants uniform, like from the 90s when they had that. So I really want to see the Kelly green.
I can see that.
I agree, though. He looks better in green than blue. Also, to piggyback off this, there was a video of the daughter singing the Fly, Eagles Fly, and him going to her, how do you know the song already? How do you know it? Like, they're walking around the locker room like, he couldn't understand how his daughter knew it. So there's got to be some family Eagles thing, maybe cousins or something that song's been going around for the daughter to already know it that quickly.
He's from the Allentown area.
Yeah,
so,
they're in Eagles country.
Yeah. And for all we know, he could have set it up too. Let's just be honest. That stuff happens all the time.
Dude, you got to see the video. It didn't look like that.
I'm just saying.
He was walking through. He was behind her, like what? How do you know? How do you know the song already? Like, how do you know? It was cool.
You know what's funny is you remember like years ago when Steph Curry's daughter would get up to the podium and say like funny stuff, and she became like a big deal. Like I could see this happening with Saquon's daughter, because his opening presser, first thing he said when he sat down was hey, how's everybody doing? And nobody said anything but his daughter. His daughter said, "We're good, Daddy," or something along those lines. And he's up there like shushing her and stuff. So this is now 3 different things that has made headlines about Saquon and his daughter.
Cool. That'll be nice to see. In wins, it'll be nice to see. In losses, we'll be like, get your daughter out of there.
So, listen, Nick Sirianni had his kids at the pressers when they were doing well too, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is so cute," until he started losing, and the cuteness went away pretty quickly. You mentioned the O-line, and I have to talk about that for a second, because right now we don't know what that O-line really is going to consist of. They could go for an O-lineman in the draft in the first round, possibly. But right now, with the current lineup, if I was imagining, and could be slightly different, but I would imagine Cam Jurgens at center. On to the left, you got, of course, Landon and Mailata. To the right, I imagine Tyler Steen with Lane Johnson. I mean, I don't think anybody would doubt the fact that this O-line is not going to be as good as it's been in the last couple of years. Not saying it's going to be a bad line. It's going to be hard to hold up to having Jason Kelce on there and Cam Jurgens taking it over for him. Do you guys, does the O-line, do you sweat the O-line situation at all at this point, or mildly, or just, I'm really nervous about it?
I trust Jeff Stoutland. How can we not? I mean, time after time, like, we think there's all these question marks with the O-line, and he puts it together. There's certainly questions and intrigue, and how's it going to pan out, but they drafted these guys. If there's something they're good at drafting, it is offensive linemen for the most part, and developing them. I think it's just there's going to be some growing pains. There's going to be mistakes. If we don't remember, Jason Kelce had his growing pains for about 5 or 6 years. Would I like them to maybe go get another veteran lineman potentially? Yes, and maybe they will. But I got to trust Stoutland at this point until I see different.
Do you believe, real quick, Joe? Do you believe that they'll go more O-line in the draft? I mean, I know it wouldn't be the craziest thing, because that's kind of Howie's forte, especially in that first, second round. But do you think they would go with O-linemen that could plug and play this year, Fred, or do you think it's going to be more that veteran presence?
I think it'll be both. It'll depend too. They're definitely going to draft O-linemen. They always do. There's some free agents out there. I just realized Halapute Vaitai is out there. He's a guy that's been here, can play guard if needed, filled in for that Super Bowl year. So there are people out there still that may be able to fit in, but I think they'll do both. They always draft linemen. I just think it's a matter of, value and where they're at. If there's a top lineman falling, they're not shy about drafting him. Like Andre Dillard, he didn't pan out, but he was rated as a top lineman, and they weren't shy about drafting him. That we were all in the studio together that night. I remember we're like Hollywood Brown, and then he went Dillard, which we were still cool with.
Yeah, definitely. If I'm being totally honest, I'm a little worried about it, because they have not done. I mean, outside of Matt Hennessy, they have not really done anything for the guard position, or even a backup tackle, because now Opeta is officially gone. Jack Driscoll is officially gone. I honestly did think that one of them were going to come back. Tyler Steen, of course, is here. We keep saying his name. And I think, Fred, to your point, I mean, the trusting of Statlin U, I mean, absolutely. But I am a little bit worried because not only is it a question mark at right guard, but it's also a question mark at center. It's two positions you have to worry about. Even though we've seen Cam Jurgens in center in preseason, and he did look good. I'm not saying that. Do I think he's going to be like an instant, Jason Kelce type size replacement? I don't know. I honestly think that I'm even more, when it comes to the draft, Al, going to kind of what you're alluding to. Like, they have 3 picks in the top 53. If they can get a starting guard and even a replacement for Lane Johnson, I mean, I can see them going offensive line 2 out of those 3 picks. And I would be totally fine with it because, again, your future, your franchise is the quarterback. And now we have 2 holes, 2 question marks on that line. And I don't know what's going to happen. So if you got to use high draft capital, 2 out of the 3 top 53 picks, I think you got to do it just to make sure that you're doing what's right for your quarterback.
A lot of
Okay. Question on that, though. If you do that at right guard and center, are you essentially saying you're either burning those picks, you're done with them, or you're essentially saying Tyler Steen's out? Not Cam Jurgens, with the other guy, Nebraska guy. Why am I escaping my name right
That's
now?
Cam
No, Cam Jurgens. Yeah.
Jurgens,
You're essentially saying those 2 are done. Like, we've given up with them. We just drafted them 2 years ago, but we're already done. If you do that,
I mean, definitely not Cam Jurgens. No, I'm not saying go out and I'm saying get a guard and a backup tackle for Lane Johnson, because he's
definitely
out in 2
right
years
tackle.
too.
I agree with right tackle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right guard, right tackle. If you want to shore up that side of the offensive line for a decade, the way that you have Dickerson and Mailata on the left side, I mean, what better way than to do it now when you have an extra 2nd round pick? I mean, I know I'm not taking anything away from Jurgens. Jurgens is your plug and play center. I'd rather just have a guy come out of the draft, at 22, the top right guard in the game. I'd rather plug him in there next to Lane Johnson and then get Lane Johnson's replacement for, next year or 2 years from now. I just think it's the smarter play.
So then you would, then Steen, essentially, you would say that was a miss.
Not only that, but I mean, Steen is an Opeta. He's a Jack Driscoll. He's what was he drafted in the 4th round? I mean, I don't know.
Early third
round. Okay. I mean, I think there's question marks about his size too. I mean, and I know when it comes to Statlin, being undersized really isn't that big of a deal, but you have no idea what, I do think if they had real faith in Tyler Steen being their right guard, I think that they would have already mentioned that Tyler Steen is going to be in competition for the right guard position. We haven't heard a word.
Yeah. I mean,
Steen
they're going to go
65th overall. And I agree with you, Joe. He is.
That's pretty high.
It is. That's why I asked the question. And it's not that I disagree. I'm questioning Steen as well. Even in the limited preseason action he had, I was kind of like, he had a bad series, then he had a good one. So I'm kind of with you there. But I think he's more in line with, like you said, a versatile guy that he has played tackle in college, and you can move him along the line. So I wouldn't mind it either.
Yeah, and listen, they haven't 100%, bought in on Steen yet. And that might just because they have seen limited reps from him. They're not exactly sure what they're going to do with him yet. And maybe, again, he's that versatility guy. Maybe he's the new Jack Driscoll in this situation. I'm not exactly sure. A lot of mock drafts I've seen is Cooper Beebe, who's a guy I've kind of really, when I go to do my research, is the one I like the most. He's played right guard. He's had the most success at right guard. And I think they said he's only given up 5 sacks in his entire college career, and 4 of them was as a redshirt freshman. The only one since that. So, I mean, he kind of is like a Nate Herbig looking guy from a body habitus. But he's a guy I think could start day one if you needed him to. And he's an insurance policy if Steen doesn't work out, and you let him and Steen battle it out. I mean, I would hate to see.
Yeah, but you can't waste a first-round pick on someone and say go battle it out. If you're going to draft a guy that early, he's got to be the guy.
He's it.
That's kind of what my question is.
Well, I
right?
mean, unless Cooper Beebe
100%.
falls back into the early second round, which I doubt it's going to fall that far back. But I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You can't. I mean, Tyler was what, the second round or third round? I'm trying to remember.
65th overall, so early third though.
Early third, yeah. So you can do that with him, but I guess you're right. So if you do go first round and you go, but then again, if you got, like, say there's who was that right tackle? Is it JPJ or whatever his name is? What the hell's his full name? He's I can't remember his name off the top of my head, what it stands for, but like everybody's like all over him, but he would probably be more like somewhere in that 12th to 15th range where he's going to get picked, and they could take him, but not, of course, he wouldn't play because Lane Johnson, outside of injury, is playing. So it wouldn't be the craziest thing to do, but it would be crazy if you don't do it and he ends up not being a starting lineman at least 1 point. So I guess it would tell your hand where they picture Tyler Steen in this situation if they get a right guard in the first round or even early in the second round.
Yeah, I'm totally on board for Zach Zinter, right guard out of Michigan, and then them doubling back with a right tackle out of Oklahoma. This kid Tyson Geisen, I believe it is.
Yes, Tyson.
Yeah, so I'm totally on board with them with Guyton, yeah, with them jumping all over those two.
Yeah, I mean, I think Guyton, he's like 6'7". He's like, Mailata size. Like he's a big guy, and that's listen, outside of Jason Kelsey, that's what they love, are these monster type men, like men, the genetic freaks, if you want to call them that, guys who can really just plug a hole up. So yeah, I mean, it will be interesting to see if and then what they do, but do they go with Coleman being a guy from TCU because you know how they got burnt one time from TCU, so they do it again. But
yeah, I don't need any more horned frogs on our team.
Yeah, well, like I said, like it's a little different with the O-line. Another piece of news, because I kind of should have segued while we're still in the Saquon conversation. Something that happened right after we went off the air the following day, last week, with the news that dropped about Saquon Barkley trade, that the rumors, and then came out to be a little bit more truthful, and we really didn't get a chance to talk about it on the air, was a certain Penn State coach who apparently took Saquon's words out of context and said he had direct contact with Howie Roseman prior to during legal tampering, which is illegal, during legal tampering, which is still a kind of a weird scenario. But what are your guys' thoughts on this situation?
Man, I got blasted for this. I got blasted because everybody knows how big of a fan, Penn State fan I am. I had, buddies texting me like, F Franklin, what's your boy doing? But I'm like, you know what, man? I got nothing for this. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. He's an a-hole. You can say whatever you want. I agree.
Nobody likes him before this.
Nobody likes him. And I can't believe that we have to wait another 8 years for him not to be the head coach of that team. Yeah, I don't know what the hell this guy is doing. Like, I don't even know why people are asking him his opinion on it.
He's so arrogant as a Penn State head coach, and then the stuff he does and the way he treats reporters sometimes. And the reporter will be like legit in the questioning, and he'll try to twist it to make it look like it's a ridiculous question. And then he just says an asinine comment like that. And it might be legit, but and of course, I'm glad Saquon did damage control, so did the Eagles. Maybe he was wrong, but I'm sure agents talk to players, but for him to say that, it's just so out of touch. Why would you what are you thinking? Especially all the rules he has with recruiting and all that stuff. He should be well aware of that. And it's just
well, that's my question. Is it more stupidity over arrogance or a combination of such that, the stupidity and the arrogance kind of play?
I think the arrogance leads to, I think it's stupidity, but his arrogance would make him not even think to even check on that.
But why is he even talking about? What is the point of him having this conversation? That's what I don't get. Why is
Saquon's arguably the greatest back in Penn State history, and he was the coach.
So he's taking a bow, but in the essence of taking a bow, he completely he almost screwed over he might have. We don't know. It depends on what the investigation yields. We might lose a draft pick or some top tier something or another because of his arrogance and
Rumor
stupidity.
has it he's a Cowboys fan as well.
If I'm being totally honest with you, I really don't. I know people say like where there's smoke, there's fire, but I just don't believe this at all. Like I don't think Howie Roseman would put himself in that position. I just don't.
Listen,
yeah, that's a good point too. Like Howie's been around this way too long to be playing games like that. So you're right there,
Yeah.
Joe.
And it didn't sound like they had to battle it out for Saquon. You know what I mean? It didn't sound like New York was trying to make any counter offers that were going to even come close.
They didn't offer him anything.
And I'm sure some other teams were in the mix, but they were probably just driving up the price. So it wasn't like he had to like step outside of his comfort zone, like Howie, I mean, and go do something borderline illegal to lock it all up. So I agree with you, Joe, in this situation. I usually when we hear this stuff, it turns out to be like somewhat true. But like again, what a moron. Like I said, a lot of Penn State fans don't like him. I don't care before this went down. So there's a lot of Penn State / Eagles fans. He really just stepped in it.
Now, when it comes to Kirk Cousins and the Falcons, yeah, they did that shit.
Yeah, right.
They did that.
It wasn't us. It definitely didn't. And real quick, Joe, you were out and about on St. Patty's Day, of course, and I pointed this out earlier that day too. I'm like, the Kelly Green jerseys, just perfect timing. I don't know what I saw more, Irish shirts or Kelly Green Eagles, especially the 62 out there. And I see one sitting right behind you there, Joe. Just to see a green, and it worked either way.
I did not even think of that. Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah, dude. Everywhere you went, everywhere you looked. I mean, and it wasn't like I swear to God, I don't think I saw any other Kelly Green Eagles jerseys other than Kelsey. Kelsey's name was the only one on the back of that jersey that day that I saw, and they were absolutely everywhere.
I would have loved to know what jerseys at least sold for that right after he retired. Like how many Kelsey jerseys sold, not just jerseys. I want to know jerseys because they're probably like astronomical.
And you know what the kicker of all that is? Jason Kelsey was right up the street in media at the townhouse.
Yeah, with Kylie, right? She was up there.
Yeah.
So that
Irish stance.
Yeah, guys, and like I said earlier, the Phillies are about to start, and you're going to need to get your tickets and get your tickets real soon. So go to sherrystickets.com. That's right, sherrystickets.com. Family owned and operated since 1946. Sports, concerts, theaters, you name it, they got it. There's an event, they have the tickets for it. Great prices, no hidden fees. You're not going to get bamboozled at checkout. Again, sports, concerts, theater, you name it, they got it. sherrystickets.com. Great prices and save an additional 10% off by using that great promo code EoP10. That's right, EoP10 will save you 10% off at sherrystickets.com. Again, 10% off by using that great promo code EoP10 at sherrystickets.com. And real quick, one last bit of Eagles before we move on to the rest of the conversation. Is the big looming one right now, and that would be with Hassan Reddick. Does he stay? Does he go? It's kind of things have quieted down. The only real news we heard is this news that they are moving his $1 million roster bonus that was due March 15th to April 1st. Fred, I'll go to you first. Do you feel that Hassan is an Eagle? He plays in Brazil week 1 for the Eagles.
Well, Jay, perfect timing here. Do you think the Eagles, if they trade Reddick, they'll move up to the first and get the best edge rusher, Jared or Dale Turner? Do I think they'll trade him? What does this mean, moving the roster bonus to April 1st, essentially? It gives them more time to not pay it, to trade him then? Is that what this is saying, I guess?
That's what I feel, but
yeah.
But
why pay him if he's not on your roster?
Got it. I don't know. I just know I totally disagree with it. I could not disagree with a move more if they trade Hassan Reddick. Like, unless he's saying, get me out of here, I'm not playing, I'm holding out. That's the only circumstance, which he said he wants to be here. I'm so aggravated at this. I can't explain it. Like, he's going to fit perfect with Vic Fangio. It's going to work great. We have an abundance of edge rushers here. You have Brandon Graham. This is his final year. You have a good young, not young, but middle of the, middle age, I guess, on the younger side, edge rusher, outside linebacker, and we're playing games. Like, I don't know. I guess this sign tells me that he won't be here. They're trying to trade him, but I'm just so against it. So against it.
I don't know if this tells me that this is a definite trade. It does tell me that they're probably playing a little hardball. Like, hey, if you're not going to accept our offer, we're going to kick the can down the line until you do, and then we're not going to pay you for it if you go somewhere else. Like, so you're not going to get the money that you want until a decision is made. I would love to see Hassan Reddick on here. Again, compensation is where it comes into, because, I mean, I feel the Eagles are in the driver's seat. Tell me if you guys disagree with me. I mean, if he stays, that's a win for them, I think, as long as, of course, if he doesn't hold out. But I'm also like kind of past the idea of paying guys for what they did. It's what they're going to do. And I understand Hassan Reddick, what's more, but what is once more? If he wants $25 million and he wants, say, 3 or 4 years or 3 years with an option or something like that, is that reasonable?
What numbers did you say? Hold on. Can you repeat?
$25 million at 3 years, something like that.
25 each year?
Yeah.
I mean, if he's holding out for that, then you have to move on, I think. But I don't think you don't have to give him an extra 10 mil per year. Is that what he was looking for?
Well, originally that's what that was dropped at. Of course, they always it's like haggling for cars. The car dealership's going to ask for $25 million. The buyer's going to say, we're only going to give you the $15 million. Maybe we'll meet in the middle and we'll get $20 million. I don't know.
Yeah, 2 years, $40 million, with a team option on the 4. Not a lot of guaranteed money is what I would do. I'd give him more money this year. The cap's expanded. We still have plenty of room. I would give him more money this year, and then be able to move on from him if he doesn't pan out. But sorry, Joe, go ahead.
First off, I don't know anyone who's spending $25 million or $20 million on a car. So that analogy fell flat. I'm sorry. However, with this, my annoyance level has made me not care because this is the way I look at it. If you trade him, you're going to get a 2 or a 3. If you don't trade him and he plays for, being underpaid in a new Vic Fangio scheme with Huff, with Josh Sweat, you get him for a season, and then he walks, you're getting a 3rd or a 4th pick. And you're not having to, give out another $5-10 million to Hassan Reddick for the next whatever years it is. I do think that he will be an Eagle. I don't think a trade will happen, because I think if a trade was going to happen, we would have either heard more about it, more interest, or it would have been done already. Because what you have to do is you have to find a team that not only is going to give you the draft compensation or a player that you like in return, but they also have to be ready to hand over an extension of $20 to $25 million for Hassan Reddick. So him going out to seek a trade and us hearing bubkiss of it, maybe the market is not out there the way that he thought it was going to be. So
the market's definitely not there, Joe.
Right. The leverage all goes to Howie Roseman and the Eagles. You either get Hassan Reddick for another year under his current deal and then get a comp pick, or you trade him now for a ridiculous cost. Either way.
I think the issue is we're not going to get the ridiculous cost. I mean, the Panthers
that's
just
because
gave up Brian Burns for a 2 and a 5.
Right. And we're not going to get what the Eagles want, because the other team has to be willing to give the extension as well. Like, Hassan's not going to get traded and then hold out because he's not getting a deal. And I don't think there's any chance at all that he will hold out if there's no trade and he plays under his current deal. I think it's an absolute win-win for Howie and the Eagles.
I agree with you to the point. I can't say there's no way. And so far, Hassan has seemed to be an upstanding individual. So I'm not going to sit here and say I could, definitely see him holding out. But there's no guarantee. He might just be like, I played through last year. We try to work it out between now and then. We've been trying to work it out. You guys got to either pay me what I want or get me out of here. And then, you're not going to get your second round pick. You're going to get a third round pick and maybe a conditional other pick or something. I don't know. But there's
unless 2 years ago, when they signed that 3-year deal for 15 per year, unless Haley and the Eagles are operating under bad faith when they told him, okay, let's get to the third year of the contract and maybe we could do an extension. If they are pulling the wool over his eyes and not living up to an agreement that they kind of, told him could be there 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was when he signed that contract, then I don't care. Because these guys sign a contract. I understand that he has, played above what he is getting paid. He also had 2 seasons of double-digit sacks before he came to the Eagles. So why wasn't he looking for that big payday then? Yeah, 4 years now of double-digit sacks. However, you signed a contract. You can't just go in and say, listen, I feel like getting paid more this year, and you're going to make it happen with no questions about it. That's the one thing that these goddamn players, that's the one thing that these players, just they can't wrap their head around. It's a business. And just because you want more money doesn't mean you're going to go in and strong arm the GM and say, give me this or else.
Listen, Joe, I agree with you. And I also understand kind of both sides of the business, because just like a job, if you felt like you should have been compensated more for what you did, you could also be like, you know what, I'm kind of, I think I should get more. And if not, I'm going to leave my job. I'm going to quit my job. And you have every right to walk away from the job. No gun to your head in that situation. Is it kind of a crappy situation? Absolutely. So I kind of get both sides of it a little bit. I understand the contract, and then I understand if you really outplay that contract and you
but you got to go to the CFL. You got to go. You can't. It's not like if you're working for you can't just go to a different job within your organization. You know
I
what
agree.
I mean? You
I
have
agree
to quit
to a point.
and
I
then
don't think,
go get compensation in a different league. You know what I'm saying? So it's not the same in that sense. You know what I mean?
And I get what you're saying. My goal to this, I understand like him asking for more and them trying to work something out. But again, in the world we live in, there's nothing stopping Hassan Reddick from saying, I'm just not going to play. I won't get paid. You guys won't have
15 million reasons. And he'll be looked at as, somebody who doesn't want to play within the rules of this is not this. I can't stand when these guys sit out because it is such a bad look. Like it just seems like it's a hissy fit. It's a child move. Like you signed the contract. Why are you signing a contract for multiple years when you just plan on bitching about it a year or two in, and and then you don't get what you want? Like I think it's why you see a lot of these players signing 1-year deals now, so then they can renegotiate. If a player like Hassan Reddick, just do 1-year deals. If you think you want to bet on yourself every single season to go and get a few $1 to $5 million more on the next year's contract, then do it. Don't sign a 3-year deal or put stipulations on it, like the options or whatever it is. I mean, don't. It's the boy who cried wolf, in my opinion.
And listen, I agree with you. And I always said if these guys really like it doesn't go the other way around either. Like they wouldn't play on an incentive-based contract, like a completely incentive-based contract. Like if they didn't have a great year and he made $15 million, but maybe that year was probably worth $10 million on there, he's not handing back 5 of it. You know what I mean? So like there's something to be said either way. In the best case scenarios, Hassan Reddick happily plays out the last year of his contract. You got him and Huff on either side, amazing.
And
Sweat
and
Nolan Smith, hopefully, getting more time, seeing if he can progress. BG kind of leading that veteran presence there. So I mean, there's a lot of pluses to it. I just find it hard to believe that he's going to happily just be like, "Oh, we tried." That's just my point of view.
Here's one of the things I don't get is if he gets traded, if he plays out, goes to another team next year, why is he on his 4th team already and he's only 30 years old? I mean, listen, with all this said, I want Hassan Reddick here. I think he's a fantastic player. I want him to play for nobody else other than the Eagles. This is his home. He went to Temple. the link is his home collegiate field, and now as a pro. I don't want him gone, but is there something about him that says, hey, the Panthers didn't re-sign him, the Cardinals let him walk, and again, $15 million we thought was an absolute steal. So why weren't other teams in play for him, and he could possibly be moving on to his fourth team now in what, 7 years of his career?
Yeah, it's another good point. I mean, does that seem like a guy who's going to happily not just move on? We tried our darndest to make this happen for you, Hassan, and Howie's all, hey buddy, I guess we tried, but we're just gonna go play next year and you're gonna give me your all, right? I'm not saying he's a bad guy. He's just, that might be like, I'm going to get my money one way or the other. Maybe he won't get as much as he was hoping for, but I just don't know how this plays out. It's just very hard for me to believe that anybody's just going to swallow their pride and just, fine, I'll pay for the $15 million that I was playing for earlier.
He's not getting $25 million per year. There's no.
Again, I think that's just driving up the price and finding that median area that they want. But again, I don't think he's going to get 25. But let me ask you a question: if you thought it was going to be, say, 20 million, it was an additional $5 million from what he's making now, don't you think it would have happened already? Did you think it would have happened?
I would hope so.
Giving him two years or a third year option or anything like that, by now that would have been it.
Maybe he's not accepting that. Maybe they are saying it, or maybe they're at 18. They're like, we'll do 2 years, 36. You know what I mean? Maybe there are offers that he's saying no to. They did open the door for him to find a trade partner. Like we said, he hasn't found one, and he's not going to. Like Joe said, Billy Covington coming in here, no one's knocking down the door. Al, you've agreed. And to the frustration level, you're right, Joe. Like, all right, guy, they probably finagled something. He works a deal for everyone else. I can't imagine he wouldn't do something for Hassan Reddick.
I agree.
All right, guys, real quick, we're going to move on here. I want to talk a little Flyers with you, but before we do, I want to mention something pretty cool. A lot of things going on here at EoP. We're going to be announcing as the days go on. But one thing is that it's really, really proud to say we have one of our guys here, our beat writer for Philadelphia wrestling, and as well as major wrestling and all that stuff, as our boy Joey Wood is going to be covering WrestleMania from the press box here in Philadelphia. So, guys, strap up. EoP will be here bringing all the WrestleMania from Philadelphia. Just put out a great article so you could see all the happenings in the wrestling world in Philadelphia going on, before and after WrestleMania. So stay tuned. The Steel Steps guys, of course, always do a great job about wrestling here. But don't forget, Joey Wood will be in there representing EoP in the press box. Very proud of him, and actually might have him on next week to talk a little about what we could stand to see here in Philadelphia at WrestleMania. So very excited. Congratulations to Joey, and we thank him for all his hard work.
Yeah, I can't believe that that's basically 2 weeks away now. I mean, we've been talking about this for a while, and here it is 2 weeks away. I still might be going. Game time decision for me.
I have been so out on wrestling and my brothers have been into it, and I've been so out. And then The Rock returns, and now I'm engaged. I'm into this. I'm watching some of this stuff. Shout out Joey Wood. That's awesome. I do chime in there on Friday night sometimes. I just check in. I don't really know all the storylines and stuff like I did back when I was a kid, but there's a huge fan base that loves wrestling, and they do it great. So, and The Rock is back talking crap. The old Rock, I see a huge heel turn. I think he's going to turn on his nephew or whatever, his cousin.
Listen, The Rock was the best when you were hating on him. I have to just say that. Back in the 90s, remember the last time WrestleMania was in Philadelphia, Joe?
It doesn't matter if you were hating on him back in the 90s.
But Stone Cold versus The Rock in Philadelphia. What was it? Where was it at that? I guess that point it was it not Wells Fargo at the point, right? It was probably,
I don't even know,
the FU Center. Probably.
I believe it was. Yeah.
So
it had to have been. Yeah. What am I talking about? It had to have been. Yeah.
So the good old days, as I would say. But yes, him, Hakeem, Chris, they do an amazing job over at the Steel Steps. They cover even the indie wrestling in Philadelphia. They really go to all these events. They do an amazing job. So check it out. Steel Steps on Friday night.
There's so much going on that week.
Yeah, so it's going to be you got to see the article. Go to EOPsports.com. You have to see. He's adding more. People have reached out to him on Twitter saying, hey, our wrestling organization is doing this on that day. Can you add it to the article? He's
That's
updated
awesome.
it at least like 12 times so far since he posted it. So, yeah, there's a lot of cool things going out. So check it out. Go to eopsports.com, and you can see it's right there up on the trending now, so you can see what's going on around WrestleMania in Philadelphia. But, guys, the Flyers coming – think about things that are coming around the corner. We just said WrestleMania is coming around the corner. Philly's about to start in 1 week. Starting a week from tomorrow, the Phillies will be starting the regular season up against the Braves. Can't wait for that one. And the Flyers coming down to the end of the season. In that playoff race, things are a little tighter. Big win last night. I don't know if you guys caught the game, but very big win last night. The Leafs came back in town. The Flyers just played them less than a week ago and got just blown the doors off of them 6-2 in that one. But held up their own 2-0 for about 2/3 of the game yesterday. Things got a little tight in there, a little dicey. And I feel if that game went a little longer, it could have been a tie or a loss for the Flyers in the long run. But luckily they were able to hold on. Yeah, it was one of those ones, like hold on to the edge of your seats. But the Flyers, big win. Islanders also lost last night. But right now behind us is the Capitals, all right? And they kind of sneak it up quietly. And they have like 2 or 3 extra games to play at the end of the season than we do. So, and it's only like a 3-point swing with that team. So a lot of and they have a hell of a gauntlet coming up this week. They already played the Leafs, like I just said the other night. They have Carolina tomorrow, Boston on Saturday, and then he also has the Panthers on Sunday. What is so funny? Joe's always laughing at it. Oh, yeah. You always laugh how I said that. But
I always think that you're doing it on purpose. That's why.
You do say it with the accent.
But the big news kind of coming out of that game was before the game. And it was this piece of news that Coots was a healthy scratch or benched or however you want to throw it out there. Just got that C not that long ago. First time that Tortorella's given anybody the C. And he sends out the assistant coach before the game to say, healthy scratch, Coots or Couturier. And then afterwards, he wasn't super. We saw a lot of the old John Tortorella at post game yesterday when he was kind of not talking about it, not going to talk about it. It's between me and Sean, not going to talk about it. Next question from him. But they ended up winning. Joe, I'll start with you. Good move, bad move when you have the C on your chest with this.
Well, I mean, it's hard. It's really hard to say because, I mean, I don't know if this is just tough love. I don't know if Couturier has gotten complacent. I know the numbers haven't been there for him. I think it was 1 goal in the past 27 games and then 1 assist in the past 9. So, I mean, he's not really living up to, the captain, aspect of it all. This is just something that we have seen John Tortorella do over the years. There was no one above being benched. And I think this is just something that he continues to really be prideful of, that it doesn't matter if you're wearing the C, doesn't matter, what your name is, doesn't matter what your contract size is. If you're not on the ice producing, then you will sit and somebody else will be playing in your spot. I don't think it's surprising. I wasn't really taken back when I read it yesterday. I just thought, hey, it's a John Tortorella move, and it seems like all these moves work. I mean, we're gonna have to see what Couturier does coming forward, or if he even plays the next game. Maybe he's getting a couple of games off. We don't know, but I think it's all going to come down to see how Couturier kind of rebounds from this.
The only thing I don't like what Torts did is sending the assistant coach out and not taking accountability, because he's an accountability guy, except he didn't take accountability for the move. I agree with the move 100% though, and Coots just kind of needs to shut up with his little comments through his agent and comments here. You're struggling. You're not playing well. You're not. I know people will say, oh, he's a good two-way player, but no, he's playing like crap. He's not scoring. He's not producing for this team. You need to sit down and be a captain, and as the captain, say no one is above me. I'm going to take a back seat here, and you guys play. And that should be the message instead of his little rumblings. I forget what's the comment. He was clueless about his ice time. Why his ice time went down. The agent making comments today. I think Coots should do a little more worrying about being the captain because he's starting to become diva-ish to me. You know, you sat for one game, guy. You know, take it on the chest. They won the game, and you know, you're benched. Like you're playing bad. Accept it, and a true captain, I feel like, would accept it, and just or at least not make comments publicly to the media and through their agent. So it's kind of annoying me the way Coots is handling it. And, you know, what has he done in his career with the Flyers? It's not like he's like been this winning player. Injured. He's been a good player. All-Stars a couple times. But, like, it's not like he has this winning vibes all around him. And I know the C, from what I read, wasn't necessarily all a Tortorella move. It was kind of Briere and management kind of pushing, like, hey, come on, we need to give someone a C. And he figured he earned it. So, you know, I love the move by Torts. They won the game, and I'm curious to see how long this lasts. And maybe Sean should just stop with the drama and end it and be a leader and say, hey, because I'm sure the players are like, who do you think you are? What you think you can't get benched because you're the captain? You think you're better than us? You think you know what I mean? I'm sure if I'm a player, I'm thinking that. I'm like, yo, dude, you have played like shit. Like, come on, man. Like own up to it. Sit down a game, and then we'll welcome you back in a few games. So I'm kind of annoyed the way Coots is handling it.
Yeah, and real quick, I really wonder how Briere and Jonesy feel about that bloated contract that he has, because that's not something that they handed out. I mean, maybe they're saying give him the C, so then in the offseason when we try and trade him, we can say, hey, he was our captain last year. Why don't you take on this contract?
Good. It could be. Could be. It'll help us move him.
Mm-hmm.
So,
how do you guys feel before we move on to any Phillies talk or Sixers talk? How do you guys feel about the Flyers' chances right now? Like I said, they have about 13 more games.
14, yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow will be 13 more games. Like I said, you got this. This is actually the rest, like the next handful of games: Carolina, Bruins, Panthers, Rangers. Right there, all 5 cup contenders. Real difficult
W's.
Dude,
yeah,
10 points right there.
Dude, they're like 90-point teams right now too. We're hanging at 78.
Yeah.
Oh, that's scary.
Then you have the Canadians, you have the Blackhawks, Islanders, who, you know, are fighting right behind us. So that's going to be a really pivotal game. Sabres, who are making a little bit more noise than we thought they would be at this point. Blue Jackets, Canadians again, Rangers, Devils, and then Capitals at the end of the season. And they're the ones right behind us. So, like we said, they have a couple extra games left. Like I said, 4 games in 1 week's a lot for hockey, on top of the fact 4, like we said, cup contending teams. So, you know, last night's game win is huge, but they have to build off of that and at least get out of the next 3 games, at least one more win out of that and go 500 on these 2 teams or these 4 teams, I would imagine.
The best thing for them is you don't lose points for not winning. You can only gain points. So even if you don't win some of these games, you got to hope everybody around you aren't winning as well.
Yeah.
You know, I good point there on the losing points. I don't see them going 500 through that gauntlet, though. I don't know. They played the Rangers tough. I don't know. But then you said the schedule after that gets more to their ilk of talent level. So, and
well, you
remember,
have the Canadians
there's still the wild card there. I mean, Tampa Bay is only 2 points ahead of us. They're at 80. Then you got the Red Wings that are 2 points behind us. So it's not like end all be all with the Capitals. We got to watch those 2 as well. And then is there anyone else close at that point?
Yeah, you got the Islanders.
Islanders are within 5.
Yeah. The Devils, I think they're falling off a little bit more. Where are they at right now?
70. They got 70.
Okay.
Sabres got 71. Penguins 69 outside chance as Penguins too.
I think the Penguins are really falling off. I'm not as worried about them as
I'm not worried about them, but I'm saying you got teams within striking distance. I guess, would you say 13 games? So yeah, they'd have to spur it off. What, 5? 5 would be 10 points. So,
but like I said, you got in retrospect. So of those 13 games, you got the Hurricanes, Bruins, Panthers, Rangers twice, Islanders, and the Capitals. So about half of that you have some really good teams you're going up against, and really good teams are right behind you. So you're going to get a little playoff hockey style games before the playoffs actually occur, the way this is coming down to the line. So either the schedule makers didn't like the Flyers, or they were looking for the drama, and you could see some. Because remember, coming into the season, the Flyers were 4% chance of making the playoffs. 4% chance for the first puck drop of the season. And I think last week they were at 77% chance. So that's pretty amazing.
As of March 20th at 3:06 a.m., they have an 87.2% chance to make the playoffs.
Wow.
Really?
A lot higher than I would expect.
Moneypuck.com.
And they're seventh in the East?
Third in the Metro.
Right, but seventh in the East?
Yeah, they're right there on the seventh.
But it's kind of that's kind of irrelevant in the sense the way the playoffs shake out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they could be, because they're the worst out of the other teams in the other divisions. I say, I think the other division got 3 teams in the 90-point range.
Guys, I remind you that this show is brought to you by CherryInjuryLaw.com. That's right. David R. Cherry is the man with the plan to fight for your rights. Workers' comp, motor vehicle, personal injury, criminal law. David R. Cherry is that man. You call him at 610-565-0300 or go to CherryInjuryLaw.com. Again, workers' comp, motor vehicle, personal injury, and criminal law. Call Dave Cherry at 610-565-0300 or visit CherryInjuryLaw.com. I want to switch some gears with you guys here as we talk. Like I said, a week away, guys. 1 week from tomorrow, Phillies, Braves. And I mean,
hold on. One other thing I just want to add to the Flyers real quick. Because I'm looking it up now. Mm-hmm. Also, which is I can't believe this. I would actually probably bet no for the Flyers to make the playoffs. Live odds right now. Bet MGM. No is plus 275. Yes, minus 400. So you bet $100, you lose 400. Yes, and then bet 100, you win 275 for no. That's crazy, actually. Considering the gauntlet you just read out, that's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, you have to understand. I guess the Islanders also are kind of in a gauntlet themselves, with us being facing off each other in one of those games. The Capitals have to kind of climb out a little bit, but like I said, with it being 3 games right now, it would be nice to get a little breathing space between them and us. But with these next 4 or 5 games, that's going to be a tall task. And if they can do that, I'm not saying that kind of guarantees them a spot, but definitely sigh of relief a little bit. But I think last night's game is indicative of what the Flyers' run is going to be from here into the playoffs. Edge of your seat, holding your breath until the last moment. So we'll find out as time goes on. But like I said, guys, Phillies is right around the corner, and we mentioned earlier we'll be at the Streetlight Kitchen and Bar talking about with the Fightins Final at one point, and also our new sponsors. But I mean, the Phillies are, the MLB, at least with Phillies and Phillies baseball, it's coming out swinging. Braves, Phillies. I mean, you got the divisional rival, what happened last year in the playoffs. And we all know one of the pieces of information that came out is that Mr. Zach Wheeler got the nod and is breaking the streak of Aaron Nola. Fred, does the streak matter to you? Or should it matter to you or Nola or anybody, or is it just go out there and pitch?
No, he deserved it last year. I mean, he's been our number one. He's been our ace for quite some time now. And Nola even said it too. So I'm glad there's no drama over it. He deserved it. It'd be cool if you're Nola though, and they give it to you. Aren't you kind of I'm not the guy. This isn't really fair. I have the record, but it's almost like at the end of the game, when the player gets the fake rebound to get the triple double, it's you didn't really get a triple double, dude. You just got an easy lay in there. So he didn't. He's still Noah, a good pitcher. I'm not hating on Noah, but Wheeler earned it.
And the other thing is, it's kind of a cool little thing to say for about the 5 minutes that it happens. But after game 2, who cares? Who cares about who started the season? And especially at the end of the game, at the end of the season, do I look back and go, well, Nola did start the season. He pitched that first game. I mean, it's a cool little record to have. I think it's a franchise record, right, Joe? 6 in a row for the Phillies.
Yep.
But ultimately, I really don't care. But I'm glad that I agree with you, Fred. Wheeler's #1 guy. What do you think, Joe?
I think this is my biggest like I said, well, duh. He's our ace. He has been our ace since he's gotten here. He just got paid ace money, and he's going up against the Braves ace in Spencer Strider, who the two have never ever faced off against. So that's a stat that I couldn't believe when I read it. But I mean, this is just a no-brainer. I don't even know. Like, I'm telling you, when I read that this guy, what the hell is his name, Scott Lauder, when he posted this on Twitter the other day, I just thought to myself, like, why is he wasting his time with this? Like, I honestly not in one moment did I think that Aaron Nola was going to be starting the season after the contract of or the extension, I should say, of Zach Wheeler. It's I don't know. I just
Well,
am I wrong? Am I wrong that it's not so like that? It's such like a non like thing to me, like that Nola's not starting.
If it's not, yeah, it's not. It really isn't a big thing, Joe. It's only like a really big thing between now and the second game of the season. That's the only time it's really a conversational piece. I mean, I guess if there's ever a question about who's your ace, like is he really an ace or not an ace, like that might be help you to tip the scales a little bit of how the team feels about a guy. But again, after game one, who cares? Like that's how it would matter looking in my eyes. But it is a conversational piece, and you see them start to line up pitchers. So when they pitch, they kind of fall into the lineup, and that's where Zach is. And I mean, here's your potential game 1, 2, and 3, a nice Easter weekend for you. Zach Wheeler, Spencer Strider, as you just said, Joe, a moment ago, game 1. Aaron Nola, Max Fried, game 2. And then Ranger Suarez, Chris Sales, game 3. What a hell of a way to kick off the season.
Yeah, I think each pitcher kind of really complements each other when it comes to really the pecking order of where each guy is with the Phillies and Braves in their rotation.
Yeah, I mean, but I agree with you guys pretty much in the sense that the starting pitcher for the season or opening day pitcher to me doesn't mean much at all either. But Joe, we found this nice little picture as well. Is this what you told your wife, or is this what Stubbs said?
No, that's what Stubbs said.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
Just making sure. Okay.
He said it on WIP.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was funny that you posted this. This was pretty funny stuff. But I know there's been a little talk about back tightness with Harper, and even Schwarber had it kind of like a little off right now. Now they are talking about they changed up. Rob Thompson kind of changed up. He said his approach to spring training, how he handles it, trying to keep this team from having a slow start. Again, I know we've talked about this before, but do you guys worry about these quote unquote slow starts at all? Knowing what they've been able to do over the last couple of years, or you can't bank on that?
I think it was more injuries than slow start, and if his injuries are the reason, then obviously, yeah. But I think if they're healthy, there won't be a slow start. Certainly not last year. I mean, we were like 60, 70 games in, and they were like 5 to 6 games below 500 with multiple 5, 6, 7 game losing streaks. So I don't think it'll be that bad. And if they rebounded from that, I'm sure they can rebound from a more substantial or closer win-loss ratio.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, is it in the back of my mind? Sure. Is it very concerning? Maybe. I mean, the reason personally I want and need them to get off to just a good start. Doesn't have to be, go out there and win the division in the first month, but just get off to a good start. Is because I don't want to be looking up at the Braves the entire season, knowing that it is wild card spot 1 or bust. Like I need some division competition here with the Braves and the Phillies going forward. The Phillies on paper have just as good of a rotation and lineup as the Braves do, in my opinion. We talked about last year the Braves and their total wins. Well, guess what? When the Phillies ended their season, they had just about the same amount, if not more, total wins in the season than the Braves. So I don't care about any of that. I need them to be closer in the division. I need them to be going for it. You know what I mean? Like, and of course it all comes down to the injuries. Am I worried about the Bryce Harper thing and if he plays, any more time in spring training? Absolutely not. We're talking about a guy who came back from Tommy John surgery in 2-3 months, no rehab assignment, goes in there. And I mean, you have to just realize that some of the back stuff is because of how violent his swing is. And then of course, playing first base with the way he's turning, that's going to play a role. You're going to see him get some more rest. And this is something that he might have to really work on for the rest of his career. I mean, you can see him being a DH in a couple years from now, but as long as you have him DH, first base, whatever, healthy, you have Schwarber healthy, you have your top rotation guys healthy, this team is in a position to contend no matter what. No matter what, if it's a slow start or a hot start.
I do have a question mark for us, and it's center field, really. It's Johan Rojas. Does he make this club? Because we talked about this a few weeks ago. We're like, he'll turn it around potentially. As it stands now, 45 at bats. He only has 7 hits, 2 stolen bases, batting 156, 174 OPB, 441 OPS. I know his fielding is electrifyingly good, like he saves runs, but is Christian Pache the guy to go to? I mean, he's not he's a good fielder too in center field. He's not overly better. He 233, a 770 OPS though. Has 2 home runs, has a little bit of power. Do you say, hey, Johan, go back to AAA and work on that bat more?
Well, I mean, time will. I mean, right now they haven't made as many cuts as they normally would by now because they had the flu kind of ravage the locker room down in Clearwater. So guys haven't had a lot of at bats or at pitching attempts. I think Kirkering only threw like a handful of innings so far because of sickness. So they haven't been able to really make any telltale of some of these guys, and Johan's one of them. I personally would love to see Johan be up here opening day. If he can come out hitting like he did when he came up here in July last year, that would be great. I kind of want to see that. I mean, all we've been seeing off season is, he's gotten more muscular. He's put on some weight. He's working out. He's working on his batting and all that stuff.
Yeah, but we're seeing in spring training that it hasn't translated to nothing.
I know what you're saying, but I'm just saying I kind of want to see what it is. But if it's what's best for him, yeah, I mean, he's probably going to be going down there. I mean, they with Whit Merrifield being able to play most areas. Brandon Marsh has already come back already. Played a little. I think he played a little bit today or yesterday, I believe it was. So you don't have to rush him up here. I mean, you can give him a couple weeks, a month or so down in the minors before you bring him back up if you want to, and let him get a little bit more seasoning down there before, he starts seeing live MLB bullets. But like I said, I've always kind of been high on Johan. I liked him, and I continue to think he could be something. Time will tell. But if he needs more seasoning, then keep him down. There's no reason to rush him up, especially this early on.
Do you think that'll screw up his confidence?
Who cares?
I mean, go ahead.
No, my biggest objective to this whole thing is it's going to show a lot what Rob Thompson really, if he wants us to buy into this hot start stuff. Because if you go the first week or two and Rojas is swinging at blanks, then you got to drop him down. And you do have, including Rojas, you have 4 center fielders on this team with Marsh, Pache, Whit Merrifield, and Rojas. And now with Kyle Schwarber being the DH, you're going to have a left fielder in there that can cover more ground. So you don't need the quote unquote electrifying play from Johan Rojas. You can substitute some more, pop in the lineup and good defense out of center field and left field, and let Rojas be down at AAA and just get the time that he needs. It's going to be very interesting to see what Rob Thompson does because of what he's saying. Like, is it all lip service that he wants to get off to a hot start and, put this, right this ship? The past 2 seasons have, not ended the way that we've all wanted them to. And of course, they look at this season as just another chance of getting to the World Series. So Topper's going to have to put up or shut up when it comes to Rojas right now.
Yeah, to answer your question about does it hurt him mentally? I mean, there's always that possibility. But I think that's a chance you take with anybody. You have to, if somebody's not ready, they go back to the minors and they get themselves right and they come back up. And I mean, even the greats have done it. I mean, Roy Halladay had to go down there and get himself right, to go back down.
Sure.
So I think that does depend on the mentality of the player. So if he's I don't want to call him a mental midget, but just a mental, mental case, then it's going to happen one way or the other. If you pop him down for a little seasoning down in the minors, or if you bring him up and he just struggles up at the battery. What about he doesn't even get to play that much and he's just sitting there doing nothing, and he's not getting the at bats that he needs? I mean, that plays a factor in it too. So again, that's what makes sports. It's that chess match, both mentally and physically. With your own players, let alone the other team. So
yeah,
that plays a little bit into it. But I mean, I can't, Joe. I know me and you have been huge baseball fans our whole life, and can't wait every year like this. As we get closer to the regular season, we just get super excited. So very interested to see this comes out. It would be, I don't want to say I expect it to play out like it normally does. The Braves end up winning the division and then we beat them in the playoffs. But as long as we're a good end at the playoffs, I don't care how else it works out at this point. It would be nice to see him kind of do that in the normal fashion. Marsh Rojas.
I want this to be a competition for the Phillies Braves going down the stretch for the division. That's what I want.
Yeah. Marsh, Rojas, Stott, Bohm need to be the primaries, not Cassie Schwarb and JTs anymore. It needs to transition a bit contribute wise. Yeah, no, you're right, because I know what he's saying. I agree with him. And I think Marsh really, especially even the postseason last year, we saw a lot more from Marsh than we ever expected offensively. I mean, defensively, he's exactly what we want from him, and he has been. I mean, having him in left field, I think, is great. I mean, he can play center field, but him as a left fielder, I mean, that defensively, we were damn good out in the outfield. Mm-hmm. Rojas, if he can get it right, him in center field and Casty in right field, I'm loving that. I'm loving that lineup. Be able to pepper Merrifield into the situation. I was so happy when they brought him, and I was so happy to see that they didn't bring another power guy in. Like, I mean, a guy who's going to spray the ball around. I'm hoping they kind of went with that mentality too, and you're seeing a little bit of that. Like, you're not seeing the guys swing for the. I mean, you're still seeing power. Castellanos had a couple home runs. JT has really they worked on his kick, as they were saying. Like, he doesn't have a really wild kick or as big as a kick. It's a much tighter, compact kick. So he's able to get to the ball quicker, and it's paying dividends. But again, I want to see, if I want to see like one big improvement on this team is them not always swinging for the fences, but just what the Braves did. The Braves did that a lot this last year. They didn't win by always the long ball. They won. Believe me, they had plenty of long balls. Don't get me wrong, but they had a very good spread of singles, doubles, and triples too. So you kind of have to have both, and it's kind of live by the home run, die by the home run, and that kind of what ultimately killed us last year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see, hit a couple more of these right here. Rojas needs to bunt more. Yeah, that's one other thing they've been working on is his bunt tech. I mean, with his speed, he can. Who was it? Who was a guy who was real fast but sucked at everything else? Quinn.
Tony Gwynn Jr.
No, Quinn.
Roman Quinn.
Roman Quinn. Like, he was the fastest guy in baseball, but he was the worst guy at everything else in baseball. But I think Rojas is much higher ceiling than him, defensively, especially because
I feel like he bunted a lot. Like, I think like his 302 in the regular season, I think a majority of that was bunting.
Yeah. Who? Quinn or
Rojas? Rojas.
He did a little bit more, but I think they were just trying to hope that he, I guess they were planning on him bunting, especially when he was struggling as bad as he was in the postseason. They figured bunting, he wouldn't get him over unless they were just doing like a sacrifice or something, sack bunt or something. But if there's nobody on base, that wasn't happening, and that was the problem. The Phillies weren't getting on base; they were just swinging for the fences. and they weren't giving him anything to hit, and they can't do that. In April, Marsh has to be the clear MVP of this team. It's an interesting point. I mean, having a guy that's not JT or Trey Turner or Bryce Harper, it would be nice to see one of those guys. I mean, Cassie was that guy last year, April, May, and that was a big reason that they were even in it come June when they were starting to have that May fall apart as we see them do.
Yeah, he had a stretch where he was playing some really good baseball. Not only not only in the field, but at the bat as well. I think a big part of what we're going to see from the start of this year is no Trey Turner, no Kyle Schwarber in the USA baseball. That could have played a little bit into the slow start of Trey Turner because we saw how great he was in that tournament. If he comes back and he is playing the way he played the last, half to 2/3 of last season, then this team is going to be just fine, starting off. It's not going to be a cold start. I think they're going to be just fine if everybody's hitting on all cylinders.
Steve has a very good point here. We have way too much speed on this team to be always swinging for the fences. You said Rojas, Trey, JT still has speed for him. Harper's not a super fast guy, but he's not slow either.
He digs it out.
Yeah, he digs it out. Who else? I'm just trying to think. Marsh. And if Pache plays, he's also a very fast guy.
Yeah, I think the only two, I mean, obviously Schwarber, but he's not doing much running. He's just trotting around the bases, really. Yeah. I mean, Castellanos isn't very fast, but I mean, outside of that, I think everybody has average to above average speed.
Yeah. And like we said, Rojas really fast, Marsh really fast, Stott, another guy, really fast guy. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think this team is built for speed, and they really need to use that to their advantage. I know the conversation continues to swing back as, they pretty much said Kyle Schwarber is going to be leading off without saying Kyle Schwarber is going to be leading off.
Did anybody really think that was going to change?
No. But let me ask you this question, Joe. They did ask a good question at one point when they were interviewing Rob, and they said, if he does start, as we know him to not be great in April and May, is it a terrible idea not to bat him first during that stretch if he does come out to a bad start? Like if he comes in, he goes 0-20 or something like that, or 0-30, like do you think about moving him during this beginning, getting his feet wet while he's getting used to the season again?
I mean, I don't think there's a real yes or no answer there, because you have to look at what everybody else is going to be doing in the lineup. You're not going to take Harper, Real Muto, Bohm, like whoever's in like the 3, 4, or 5 spot. You're not going to drop one of them, higher or lower, just because of Kyle Schwarber. Like if there's somebody who is batting really good in the 4, 5, 6 spot, you're not gonna be taking them out of there just to try and get Kyle back on track. And to really be honest with you, it's like to get back on track of what? Just hitting the long ball?
I mean, that's what they do. They like it. I know when he hits home runs, they tend to win when leadoff home runs, I should say. They tend to win those games. So the analytics are there. The analytics are there, and I get both sides of the argument. It is. I just would like to see when he is hitting well. I kind of would like to see it traditionally put him in that fourth or fifth spot. And I mean, a lineup of either Stott or Trey to lead off, Bohm at number 2. Harper, of course, at 3, depending on who's hitting the best. Castellanos at 4, maybe JT at 4. And then Schwarber at 5, 6. I mean, think about it. If they're all hitting well as they can, until you get to that 9 spot, there's really no bad question marks. I mean, they have a very deep lineup.
Oh, they absolutely do. And I don't think it's like, because again, what if you're swapping Kyle Schwarber and Trey Turner? Trey Turner is more of the traditional leadoff guy. What happens if you move him, 2-3 weeks into the season just to kind of get Kyle right? But then you're putting the juju on Trey Turner at the top of the lineup where he wasn't batting, for the first three weeks or so, and then you get him in a slump. So I don't think it's as easy just to say, hey, if he's not batting where we need him to be in the first month of the or I'm sorry. I don't think it's as easy just to say we're going to bat him somewhere else just for the first month or two of the season, because we know he's not really in his stride until June, and then make that switch when somebody else could be batting, where his position is as good, I should say.
I agree with you to a point, but I mean, I guess you could say both sides of it. Like, what about if Stott's in the 5th, 6th spot and he's hitting 300 plus, and he's hitting low 100s again? Is it worth trying to get a guy who has a hot hand in that leadoff spot to try to get people on base for if it's Bohm, Harper?
But there's no telling if you're taking that hot hitter and putting him in the leadoff spot, if he's going to continue to be hot there. I think you see different pitches, and then you're taking the risk of having two guys slump.
I agree with you, but at the same time, like I said, it can go both ways. Like that's once again the beauty of sports. There's no telling until it actually happens. So I want to hit a couple more of these before we end the show off here, Joe. Did the Phillies try to trade Castellanos this offseason? I don't know if they tried. I don't know if they listened to it. They kind of, like, in the beginning of the offseason, they said they were listening to anything, and then like a day or two later they said we're not trading Nick. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if like he didn't like what he heard, and they something like that. There was like a little like blip on the radar that got crushed like a day or two later.
There was stuff out there, and I think maybe the Phillies may have leaked it to see if anybody jumped on it to see what type of offers they can get, because at that time there was still a question mark of where Bryce Harper was going to be and what they were going to do with Rhys Hoskins. So if you can get another arm for Castellanos, and then Harper goes back to right field, then you obviously can plug Rhys Hoskins back at first. So I think it was all a bunch of a domino effect. I don't think that they were really serious about getting rid of him, but there could have been a little bit of truth to it to see what kind of deals there were out there possibly.
Yeah, and I think that was pre injury before for Rhys. So I think that was another reason that they had that flying around when that rumor started. So
it's 2 different years.
Oh no! Didn't they do it last year too?
I don't think so. Because it would have only been 1 year into his contract.
Okay, all right. It needs to be a 25/100 from Bomer this year, with 15 or 15 or less errors in a good range number.
Gold Glove last year.
This should be a career year. Yeah.
I thought he played very well at third base last year.
Steve saying we need to get our boy Billy Cove here in the comments to get his brother Rocco back, or his cousin Rocco back to playing. Yeah, they really could use a little bit. But the Sixers they have 2 games in a row. Joe, you want to talk a little Sixers before we head out?
Not really.
Okay, then we won't do it.
Here's my thing is, no, we can jump into it a little bit. They're putting out some false hope for Embiid to come back in the first week or two of April. We don't know how long the rust is going to take for him to knock it off. We don't know if he can get injured again within that stretch before the playoffs. And I don't see much hope for this team. I mean, there's a real chance that they are playing in the play-in portion of the playoffs, and you may not be getting the right Embiid at that time. So, I mean, does it really help you for him to come back? I don't know. I'm
very
down on the Sixers right now.
I get it, and a lot of people are, and I've been on this hill, and I guess one of the few people dying on it, I guess, is I don't want him back. I don't want him to play, even if he feels like he can play. I really think the risk versus reward is drastically, skewed, and I think you have a higher risk of him getting further injured or re-injuring this injury that just surgically repaired for a team right now that to me just doesn't feel championship ready. Maybe a first, second round bid, maybe even, at best case scenario, Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't think it goes any further than that. But I think the Eastern Conference Finals is a long stretch of the imagination. I mean, even if Embiid's 100%, how many games have they got left? Not many more than the Flyers do.
No, I think they have 14 or 15 left now too.
Yeah,
they play tonight, so I think they have 14.
Yeah, they're on the West Coast tonight. Yeah. So he's going to be rusty. Number one, they're sitting in the 6th spot now after last night's win. It was a good win. It was a whole team win. Saw a lot from
but
everyone.
they're a loss away from being in the 8th again.
Exactly. It's a very tight race. It's after the 9-10 spot where the drop off comes in. So they'll probably make the playoffs, in the play-in tournament, I should say, at the very least, outside of, just in a complete implosion. But I don't see the value of bringing Embiid back. There's such a big swing in the Sixers coming next season with getting finally. I mean, Tobias has had his chance to shine. We are all over him. I don't think there's one. I don't even know if Tobias Harris's dad wants him back on this team next year. You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's weird. I've heard every crumble cookie joke. I've heard them all, and I'm kind of tired of them. To be honest with you, and I'm over them, so we can move on from Tobias. Hopefully, they can keep Kelly Oubre. He's a great piece.
I like him a lot.
Re-sign Buddy Hield. Kyle's probably retiring at the end of this year.
Yeah, he'll probably be out.
Yeah.
Anthony Melton.
Anthony Melton, he's another, serious question mark from an injury standpoint. I really liked that pickup of him. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy. And, that's the whole best abilities availability situation. So, Roko's going to be off the books. A lot of these guys are going to be gone. They're going to be gone, and then they're going to, they're going to have a lot of money to work with. They could probably sign a couple really big names. They don't have to be the superstars, these aging superstars anymore. If they sign another agent, I'm going to lose my mind.
Paul George.
Dude, I'll tell you right now, I'll drive the entire organization to the airport on that one. I'll sell the Sixers. All right. At that point, I'm so tired. If he's one piece of a year or two contract, I guess I can get behind it a little bit, but he can't be the only piece. Like, just putting him in there, stick him in there, and then just put a bunch of mediocre players around him. Like, that can't be the way it is. You're gonna have to sign Maxey, but you're gonna have the money to do it and move up on it. And I think it's time for him. Steve, he's in the other shoe right now. I'm not down on the Sixers. The right pieces are here to come together at the right time. I wish I had your outlook, Steve. I don't. What right pieces? Like,
what's the right time, though?
Yeah, who's the right pieces? All right, devil's advocate for a moment before we head out of here. I'll let you answer this, Steve. If Embiid comes back completely healthy, ready to play, playing at almost close to the caliber he was playing before he got injured, with Maxey and Kelly Oubre and hopefully Kyle Lowry getting his feet under him now, where do you feel comfortable with this team moving forward from a depth standpoint in the playoffs? I can't imagine it. I don't see it. Who's your you think Tobias Harris right now he's crumbling now, and I know I kind of did it by accident there, but he is he's not living up to the hype now. They're not even in the freaking playoffs yet. And what about Embiid gets one of those freak postseason injuries that he's known to get, another fracture orbital or something like that, and then he's got to miss some time. I mean, come on. I wish he would just fracture his orbital now and get it out of the way. Like, just do it now.
That's what he should do when he comes back to knock some of the rust off. Just put the mask on. Get used to playing with it, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Oubre, Hield, and Lowry are way better pieces. To what? Way better to what? James Harden? Okay. But, so you have Embiid, Maxey, Oubre, Hield, and Lowry. Okay. I mean, you can't even do that. I mean, you have to have who you're putting under the basket there. But Mobamba had one good game for his whole career as a Sixer yesterday, or the day before, whatever it was. This one I agree with. Cameron Payne. Cam Payne is a way better bench piece. I agree with that. But after Cam Payne, where does it go from there? Where's the drop off?
Injuries killed this team the entire season.
So he's saying Harris needs Joe back. Joe, do you agree with that? Do you think Joel will raise up Tobias Harris?
No, I don't. No, I don't think he was playing as a third option when Embiid was here, and he hasn't done that maybe since he's signed that contract. I mean, and I'm not taking anything away from Tobias Harris. I just don't think that he is the guy that they thought he was going to be when they signed him to that max contract. He's a nice role player. He's not a third option. I don't even know if he's a fourth option at this moment.
Roko's defense on wings and his rebounding is very tough. Yeah, but is he going to be able to hold up? He hasn't been able to play yet. He's been out longer than Joel.
I think he was supposed to come back in like December. We're in mid-March now. I mean, Roko. I mean,
Yeah,
I like
mean,
the guy, but I mean, he hasn't done a thing since he got traded here.
him and Melton are fighting over time on the massage table. I mean, like it's yeah. I mean, I wish I had your positive outlook, but I mean, you got two guys that you just mentioned haven't played longer than Joel did. Joel just had major knee surgery. You know what I mean? Like there's a big problem right there. You have some good guys on there, but then it drops off, and that's always been the problem with the Sixers. They have the starting five that's really good, but then when you needed your bench to step up, crickets. And
Yeah.
even when you needed your starters to step up sometimes. I mean, Tobias Harris has disappeared almost as much as Ben Simmons at times has. So listen, power to you, Steve, and anybody else out there who is really, positive on this team. And listen, I'll be the first one to eat a whole bucket of crow if they could turn this around and win somehow this year. They have 3 weeks to ramp this up. 3 weeks, yeah, but I don't even know if Joel Embiid's getting any time on the court in 3 weeks. That's the question mark right there. All right, guys, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I want to thank our sponsors, as always. It makes this awesome here at EoP, makes us be able to do this. Let's start with cherryinjurylaw.com. That's right, David R. Cherry is the man with the plan for all your workers' comp, motor vehicle, personal injury, criminal. All you need, 610-565-0300. Go to cherryinjurylaw.com. You need a ticket to that great event, that sports concert theater event, you go to sherrystickets.com. Sherry's Tickets, family owned and operated since 1946, and you save an additional 10% off the great prices at sherrystickets.com with that great promo code EOP10. That's right, EOP10 will save you 10% off at sherrystickets.com. And don't forget Philly Sports Trips. If you're trying to get away and get your Philly sports in, phillysportstrips.com is the place to go. Go to the Birds Takeover Brazil. They have a whole week's scheduled vacation in Brazil on top of this great game. And they also have a Nashville game if you want to head down to Nashville to watch the Philadelphia Union go take on Nashville. Baltimore, Boston, Chicago, and Pittsburgh. All these great games, all these great trips. Joe is not going to stop laughing at the way I say Boston. He's just never going to let it go. He's like, he just met
you can
me
see
somehow.
me.
I can hear you laughing, let alone see it. And also welcoming our newest sponsor here at Edge of Philly Sports, the Streetlight Kitchen and Bar, 5400 Fern Boulevard, Drexel, PA 19026, and Holiday Inn and Suites at the Drexel Brook Event Center. You can hear a lot more about them as we go along. Sign up we'll have the event page up soon so you guys can sign up and come. They're going to have great food, great drinks, deals, and all this stuff. You never know what's going to happen there. First in-house game in-house or live on location will be the April 7th one you see here. And you'll hear all about them because they are new sponsor over for the Fightins final. So check that out, guys. And like I said, don't forget Joey Woods doing some great work. We'll be covering WrestleMania for EoP. So, guys, a lot going on here. And a lot of new announcements coming very, very, very soon. Very excited to announce all this stuff. So, other than that, I'm Big Al.
I'm Joe Sheeran.
And we out of here.